Hello, my name is Jordan Horn. I am a real estate photography business coach and this and that. Slightly different things happening now. Instead of talking over there, I'm going to be talking right here now. That's not the only change. I'm going to be doing a lot more long form style podcasts, I suppose you could say. So I've got the whiteboard right there, and I'm going to set this up to be like this whole podcast thing. I'm going to do really long form videos, specifically talking about real estate photography and all that jazz. Nothing's changing in that front, just trying to streamline because it's been a couple weeks since I've made a video because we went on vacation. And then it was Labor Day, and then my daughter got sick, and then she got hurt. And so it's been like one thing after another, and I just haven't been in the office. I've been getting busier with shoots, which is always a good thing. But the videos that I'm going to be producing now is going to be a much more interactive kind of long form style things where, I might even pull up my laptop and review questions that you submit or DMs that I get on Instagram. I get way more people DMing me on Instagram than I ever thought I would. So if you want to talk to me, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'll reach back super quick. That's been pretty cool. But as far as the direction that I'm taking this is I'm going to do a lot more, I don't want to say high quality stuff, like more thought is going to go into it. Because for the longest, for the last few months, the videos I've been making is like I have an idea of something I want to talk about, and then I sit down and I talk about it for 10 or 15 minutes, and then that's the end of the video. I'm still going to do that stuff, don't get me wrong, because, I am kind of lazy, and I feel like I can, like when I have an idea of what I want to talk about, I can talk about that idea pretty clearly that is somewhat useful to watch. So I'm going to still be doing those kind of things, but then also the kind of the how-to whiteboard stuff that I have been doing. But overall, everything is going to be a little bit more structured, and then the videos that I'm going to be releasing are going to be the kind of hour-long type things where it'll be easier for me to like chop up little snippets and upload it to social media because I've been ignoring social media way too much. I need to be actually making videos doing that. Which leads me into kind of the first topic that I wanted to talk about, which I have got my notes and stuff on here, which is why you'll see the little mic on here. But there's so much you have to do as a business owner, and when you're a new real estate photographer or just a new someone who's trying to get into business, you can get really overwhelmed with the sheer amount of things that you have to learn how to do. Not only do you have to learn everything there is to know about what gear to buy, then you have to learn how to use that gear. You have to get really good at photos, really good at video, fly your drone, get your Part 107 license so you're not doing it illegally. Then you have to figure out how to get business license stuff and get your LLC squared away, and then do taxes, and then you need to be discoverable, so you have to learn how to build a website. And there's so many things that can be done wrong that it and don't get me wrong, YouTube is a fantastic source. Here I am talking to you about this kind of stuff, so don't get me wrong, YouTube is great, but you don't always know if what you're learning is the correct thing to be learning at any given time. So it can kind of shoot you in the foot to where if you listen to people like Nathan Cool, don't get me wrong, Nathan Cool is fantastic. I was just on a coaching call with one of my students right before I started filming this, and he brought up Nathan Cool, and I was like, yeah, Nathan Cool is fantastic, but he has such a meticulous attention to detail that's not really necessary when it comes to realtors. He's so he's built his own platform based on his attention to detail. He's somewhat famous in the real estate media world, so he can charge more money and not waste time doing the kind of flash ambient stuff because people actually want to pay for that for him. So that it's kind of skewed, but I learned from Nathan Cool when I was just getting into it about 5 years ago. So don't get me wrong, lots of good stuff on YouTube, but you don't know if what you're learning is the correct thing to learn. You don't have to shoot flash ambient. You don't even really have to get amazing at photos if you want to be primarily a videography company that also does all the other stuff. So there's so many different things you have to learn about when wanting to press into the real estate photography world, more specifically the business world. And so I'm almost done with my introduction to real estate photography course. I'm sure you've heard me maybe offhandedly mention it here and there. It's 50% off right now. There's two courses being released. So there's the introduction to real estate photography course. I can never remember like what I officially named them, but that is going to go over the entire, I hesitate to say the 100% correct way to do things because everybody has different ways they can go about things and different ways they do things. And there's not too many. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it correctly, but there's like, in my opinion, what I'm going to teach is like a really, really good way to do it correctly. So that's going to be how to start, run, build, and eventually kind of extrapolate the information about how to scale your business. But it's going to go over everything as if you knew nothing. Nothing's going to be skipped. It's 50% off right now. It's not going to be 50% off as soon as the course is released, and I'm almost done. I just have to film a couple more behind the scenes job shadow things and then edit it all together, and then it's going to be released. So if you're in my email group, I've got like 700 people or something like that in there. If you download one of the free things I have in there, it'll auto put you in the email marketing thing for me to send you emails all the time and talk to you. But there will be discounts for the course like every so often, but if you're like thinking about diving into real estate photography and you are a beginner, even if you like know some things, but you're still pretty much a beginner, I would recommend hopping into it because it's going to go over everything that you need to know in order of like a logical order of why you're doing it, doing this first and then you're doing that and then we're doing website and then we're, doing marketing and blah, blah, blah. Just check it out. Subscribe to the email newsletter because I'll be sending more information and also like teaser videos when things are coming online about that course. And then also the property video 101 course. That's going to be, it's not going to go into like the business strategy style of things. It will about like videography stuff, but that's primarily focused on how to do really good videos. So it's going to start with, the first video is, okay, let's film a property video, a very simple one with our phones at a whatever listing. And then we're going to film the same video, also very simple, with something like the FX30 that I'm filming on. And then the next video is going to be slightly more advanced with the phone, slightly more advanced with the camera, and then more advanced with the phone, more advanced with the camera. And then, it ranges in like beginner professional to advanced professional, where you're doing all kinds of fancy transitions and fancy way of filmings and all the different movements you can do. It's going to go over everything from ground movement on a gimbal using either a cell phone or a camera, and then getting smooth aerial videography, because I get I don't know what it is, drone stuff like aerial videography, in my opinion, and maybe this is wrong, it's easy to do, but I see so many bad aerial videos to where like there's new movements introduced mid-shot. Anyways, all that stuff's going to be covered in the Property Video 101 course, which is also 50% off until it's released. So check that out. I'll also be sending some snippets. Both of those courses are almost done, but that's kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about was the unsuredness of what exactly you need to do to get started, doing real estate photography. But I've got all kinds of notes about things that I wanted to talk about, but another one that stuck out to me was how to find your competitive advantage in your real estate photography business. Because when you're also on Reddit, I see all the time of people talking like, how, what are you guys doing to be different? Why am I not getting clients? Why aren't people flocking to me? I post on social media, blah, blah, blah. What helps you guys stand out? That was the question. And it made me think about this a little bit more, because I think I've talked about this in a video before. Your competitive advantage doesn't even have to be anything crazy. Like, you don't have to edit your videos in a certain way. You don't have to edit your photos in a certain way. You don't have to do anything in like a crazy unique way. Like, if all these businesses are essentially the same exact thing. Everybody gets real estate photos, everybody gets real estate videos, everybody gets Matterport virtual tours. Like, there's only so much creativity you can have in a real estate photography business. So you have to stand out in another way. And the best way to stand out and gain your competitive edge, your competitive advantage over other real estate photography providers, real estate media providers, is to just be consistent, number one. If you're consistent, you're extremely communicative, extremely professional in every circumstance, and you're flexible. If difficult situations arise where your client might have, am I recording? I don't know what I'm doing. If your client has any last minute issues that pop up, or like the other day I shot a house and there were a ton of flies because the property owner left the front door open, and there were squatters in the house directly next to it that had a bunch of refuse all over. So there were all kinds of flies. They cleaned all that stuff out, but for some reason she left the door open. So flies were everywhere. And I talked to the realtor about that. And I was like, if the flies show up in the photos, it's not that big of a deal because I can just do like a little spot replace for in that little black spot where the fly is. But in video, it's going to be kind of harder because this was like a $3 million property. So I told her, I was like, here's my plan. I'm going to take a little bit longer to do the video because I'm going to get each movement quite a number of times because, if I'm in the living room and I'm pushing forward to get a clip of the living room and there's 13 flies in the way, and there were so many flies, and there were two separate parts of the living room, and in front of the grand piano, there was like literally 18 flies that I counted at some point, and then in the living room, which was across the way, and it was this big thing with beautiful bay windows that was overlooking the ocean, little bay that is like the bite out of California. And the flies would just immediately ruin the video. So I told her, I was like, hey, I'm going to do this a few times just to make sure, because the last thing I would want is to, make this really, really good video for you and then have there be like a number of very obvious flies, which is really gross and would turn a lot of people off. And then I might have to come back and redo the video again, which would be super, super lame. So in all instances, your competitive advantage can just be, hey, I'm going to take a little bit more time to make sure that this is done right. And I'm going to be really easy to work with, really communicative, and really professional at every corner to make sure that you have a good experience as my client. That can be the only thing that sets you apart, because what you have to realize is that, I hate to go out and say this because, I'm a real estate photography business coach that has a YouTube channel that's like sharing this information with people who want to become real estate photographers and real estate photography business owners anyways. But I'm going to say it anyways. A lot of real estate photographers are kind of stupid. You know what I mean? Like they kind of learn the bare minimum of a video, bare minimum of photos. They don't really learn how to, have professional communication and, learn how to stand out as a professional and be the person that, people get a lot of referrals to because they're like, man, this kid's fantastic, or this guy's fantastic because he's so professional at every corner. Like a lot of people nowadays they don't really try. So all you have to do is try. Like if you just go slightly above and beyond and actually make an effort to be a good service business provider, you will win the clients. That's just how it's going to go. So if you spend a little bit more time of like actually, putting in an effort to be a professional, because we're a service-based business. We are like essentially blue collar workers. Like we're not construction workers, we're not plumbers, but we're in the same category where we're providing home services for people. I work with homeowners. You know what I mean? Like I'm not just working with realtors. I'll work with homeowners when they want to rent out their property. So if you're a photographer that's thinking that you're hot shit because you got an expensive camera, not really. So, a contractor's truck costs, maybe $90,000, and you're thinking you're hot shit with your, your $4,500 FX30 or FX3 or whatever. Like there's economies of scale. And just because you're in the creative space doesn't mean that you are better than anybody. And at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is get properties sold. So don't get a big head about it, and actually just be a joy to work with, and you will there will be your competitive edge right there. Just in general, this is kind of the beginnings of it. As I progress, I'm going to, create actual, like for these podcasts, I'm going to create like actual things that I want to talk about. But for now, I'm just like scrolling through my notes because I do this thing where I go through and whenever I have an idea about a video, I just jot down a subject and I don't script them out or anything like that. I just read it and I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. And then I end up talking for 20 minutes or 25 minutes or how much. So, whatever. Oh, my wife is calling me. 1 second. But what I did want to talk about just briefly before I close out this kind of introductory podcast video is how to get smooth video. And I've been trying to think of it. I've been trying to come up with my own methodology of like how to explain how to get really smooth gimbal video, because the last thing that you want to see is up and down movement when you're walking, so that someone can actually see the footsteps that you're taking while you're filming. I hate that. That's why you film in 60 frames per second, slow it down by 50%, and then chop off the ends of what you don't want so you can get a smooth, usable amount of footage with that. But for the longest time, because I'm a dad and I have two kids that are toddlers, so very recently babies. So in all my coaching calls, I would talk to people like, have you ever held a baby? And a lot of them were like, no. And I'm like, okay, shit. Well, there goes that. But I heard another one the other day that was kind of a similar thing, because I was telling people like, okay, to not get the movements that come across in your videos, just pretend that you're holding a baby and the baby is asleep, and you don't want to wake up the baby. You're not going to walk, stomping your feet all the way back to the bedroom to put the baby down. You're going to kind of, you're going to walk heel toe really softly. You're going to try to, keep your torso completely steady so you're not moving a lot. That was what I was going for. But I heard someone else say it this way. Imagine you're walking with a completely full cup of water. It's the surface tension, it's just over the top, and you don't, like, if you spill any, you're going to die. Pretend that's how it is when you're holding your gimbal. So walk extremely smooth. You don't even have to cover a lot of space. I go over this a lot in my coaching calls with people that are trying to learn how to do video. For your first 10 listing videos, don't move your feet. Go to, where you're going to start the video. Like in this instance, you can go into, the entryway where you're going to show the beginnings of the living room, or what you're going to establish the space. New videographers, for some reason, are always tempted to travel a lot of distance in their video clips, walking 15 feet, 20 feet to do these long, crazy takes, and you don't need to do that. In fact, I would go as far to say as, please never do that. Like when you're more experienced and more advanced and you know what you're doing and you can get a smooth, good shot, like yes, you can travel a lot of distance to do like an orbiting shot from one side of the living room to the other, wrapping around like a grand piano or a chandelier or whatever. But for your first 15, 20 listing videos, don't even move your feet. You can, kind of have a straddling position where you just, you have your right leg far back, your left leg forward, and you just rock your balance from here to here. So if you start all the way back here and then you just push the gimbal forward, that's the only movement that you really need to have. You don't need to do anything else that's crazy, because another topic which I'll briefly touch back on is color grading. Don't shoot in a flat color profile until you've already mastered the other aspects of a listing video. Shoot in standard color profile, ignore the color grading process. Just make sure that you nail white balance, and that's it. Nail white balance, nail exposure, and don't show any, up and down walking movements in your videos. You just want things to be smooth and consistent across the board. So back to kind of the movement thing. If you're like, there's a number of different ways you can do it. You can either lean from here, to here, and there's a clip. You can, rock back to front, and there's a clip. You can, start up top and then, just drop straight down. But don't move more than like 2 feet in distance. So if you have your leg straddled, your left foot is 2 feet or 4 feet in front of your right foot, and you have all your weight in the back of, leaning back, take like 4 seconds to get to all the way the front. So leaning the gimbal and the camera all the way forward, have that movement take 4 seconds, and you'll have more than enough to work with if you're shooting in 60 frames per second, because this movement will turn into 8 seconds of smooth, usable footage that you can cut off to only have like a 3-second clip per. But if you just do this, rock back and forth, every single, clip that you get, and then pepper in some detail shots, the listing video will be fine. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be this crazy, all these dynamic movements. It's just kind of a waste, in my opinion, and it's gonna look bad. Like, don't start trying to do fancier things until you've mastered the basics. And in this instance, the basics is smooth, consistent inputs, smooth, consistent movements where you're just, you're keeping the cam. It's very important if you're doing like a rocking forward and back motion. If you have the camera and it kind of does an arc where you're almost rowing, then you're going to see, verticality. You're going to see movement going up and down because the camera is traveling in an arc position. So if you're leaning back and pretend that I'm holding a gimbal right here and you're leaning forward, make sure that your gimbal stays on the same linear axis. So instead of leaning forward and then going like that, where you're going to see the camera drop, just lean forward and make sure that it stays on the same axis the entire way, that the camera maintains the same vertical height, and you'll be good. Like, just practice that. Don't move your feet. Don't walk at all. I was on a coaching call with someone, and I had this advice for him, and then the next listing video he sent me, it was like, he took like 20 steps per clip, and I was like, dude, what happened? Like, you didn't, like, don't move your feet. That's the only thing. Do not move your feet. Just move your upper body a little bit. Like, I even went through like the motions with him and all that stuff too, but we're working on it. All that stuff. So that was just a quick video that I wanted to make, kind of in the style of how I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to decorate this entire back wall and make this room like the podcast room, and then that's going to be the other room's going to be my office where I like work and get stuff done. I mean, this is technically working because it's videos that I upload, but there's going to be this kind of stuff, and then whiteboard stuff, and just in general, those are the types of things that I'm going to be doing. Please check out the courses down below. There's a lot of really, really great information that's going to be covered. They're 50% off until they go live. So if you're watching this and they're live right now, sorry, the links are going to be full price. If you really want to, DM me for a discount code, and maybe I'll give you 20% off or something like that. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'm happy to be back. I'm going to try and make more consistent videos, but what I'm hoping is going to happen by doing this kind of thing is, making a whole lot longer videos will allow me to upload like once a week rather than having to upload like every single day or every other day or whatever. So I'm going to aim for like one long form podcast style thing. And I've only been filming for like 22 minutes. So it's not even that long. I'm going to be doing about hour-long versions of this. So I'm going to have like a whole setup of like, okay, today's topics are business development, marketing strategies, and website stuff. And then each one I'll talk about, and it'll be, end up being like an hour long or whatever it ends up being. And then I'll probably chop up little bits and little highlights and upload them to Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and maybe even the YouTube channel. If people don't want to watch the entire hour-long podcast, they can. And I keep calling it a podcast, which I suppose it's going to be a podcast because I'm also planning. I think this would be really, really cool. And let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. I was talking to one of my realtor clients, and she's a super high producer. I think she did $4.5 million in like net take home last year. Like that's not her sales, like not $4.5 million in sales, $4.5 million in her pocket, which is crazy. I was thinking of having her come on and start talking to my clients and just generally realtors in this market of like, what do you look for in a photographer? What do you look for in a in a service provider? What are the most important things to you? Like, is it image quality? Is it price? Is it communication? What is it? So I'm thinking of also doing that, of having guests on the podcast as well. So look at me, another white boy with a podcast or whatever. So that's coming. I'm super happy that you're here. I'm happy to be kind of back in the saddle of making videos. It's been a little bit of time. So here I am. I promise I'll be just a little bit more consistent. Coaching program still great, still going on. Had some people graduate because they're too busy for me now because I'm making too much money, which is a fantastic problem to have. I've got a few more slots. Actually, I've got a lot of slots open for coaching that I'd have time to cover. I feel like I've fallen into like a really good rhythm of doing this for the past year or so. Maybe it's only been like 8 months. I don't even know how long it's been that I've had the official coaching program open, because I did coaching all last year for free to make sure that I knew what the heck I was talking about. But just in general, if you want to join the coaching program, I kind of revamped the application process because I had all these like questions and then like additional questions that you had to like certify that you're interested, and then you could get redirected to like a Calendly link and then schedule a call with me. I did away with that. So if you click apply, it'll just ask you a few questions and then it'll redirect you to schedule a call with me. And I'm trying to figure out a way to talk to everyone, because there's a few different tiers of services that I offer to people who are wanting help in their real estate photography businesses. So there's group coaching, which I haven't started doing at all yet. I've had a lot of people interested in it, But for some reason, it just keeps like falling out of my mind as something that I need to start doing, because that's going to be like a whole lot lower. That's going to be like $50 a session. I'm thinking like 10 people per call, per hour long call or whatever. If you're interested in group coaching, comment down below that you are, and then maybe you and I can chat about like actually, getting this damn thing off the ground. And then there's Coaching Light, which is like a 3 to 6 month plan to help people, if they want to be earning $6,000 a month in 3 to 6 months, then it's a comprehensive plan of how to get them there. And then there's the full coaching program that's, the most expensive option, the one-on-one calls. But then I also have, the property video 101 course, which I think 50% off. It's like $176 or something like that. And then the Intro to Real Estate Photography course is $250, 50% off right now. So I'm trying to figure out a way of like how to accurately convey all the different offerings to people without like every single video being like, buy this shit, buy that shit, because that's not what that's not what I'm trying to do. But I have those things for people who want them, and I'm trying to find like a less toxic way of trying to sell it to people who are interested. Because if you're not interested, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, don't buy anything. That's fine. You can learn everything for free on YouTube. Like I said, might not be the right information at the right time, but it'll be better than nothing. So that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. The first kind of long form one will probably be uploaded next week. I haven't even filmed it yet. I literally just sat down and put this table in the middle here. I didn't even move. Like, this setup is going to go back there. I'm going to move the decorations right there. I didn't feel like doing it today. So I'm going to try and get all this wall decorated and have some cool lighting setups and all that kind of stuff so I can blend in with the modern YouTubers. Good things coming. So if you want to chat, either apply for the coaching program or shoot me a DM on Instagram, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Goodbye.